Morning, everyone. Happy Friday. Mr. Light and Love here, Eddie Pabon, bringing you happiness from within discussion part 4. Today is the final part of the discussion with Julissa Edwards and I, who's going to be hopping on in a moment. Hello, Beauty con Sazon. Hello, Nacho. Hello, Hot Boy J. Hello. Hello, Poutman. I'm Maurice. How you guys doing? I hope you're well. We're going to have an interesting discussion today about trauma. There goes Julissa. Let's go. So we'll be talking about trauma today. And hi.
Hi.
Oh, wait, you're low. Wait a minute. What's going on here?
Low, like
How to
volume.
do this with the Bluetooth thing. How's this? See something.
Can you hear me?
Perfect. We are
Yay.
ready to go.
You're low now. I can't hear you now.
No, I just killed.
I can hear you.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Hey, Jules. So yeah, everyone, welcome. I'm Eddie Pabon. You know this. This is Julissa Edwards. She
Hi.
is a positivity expert, mental health extraordinaire,
Yeah.
and I come with the spiritual aspect. And we have been talking for the last 3 weeks. Actually, we've been talking for the last 2 months.
Yeah,
Uh,
2 months.
2 months. I don't know why I thought it was a weekly thing.
Session.
Uh, feels like it happened so fast. About happiness from within, right? So we've been talking about like childhood stuff and just ways to cope and
Right.
mental wellness, just
Yep.
overall the theme of building happiness from within. Today, last time we covered loss and grief, and that
Yes,
was a little bit heavy.
it
Today
was.
is while equally as heavy, not so intense. We're not going to be talking about loss today. We're going to be talking about trauma.
Yeah. Trauma with
So,
these family systems. So
oh,
important.
family systems, yes.
Yeah.
Trauma usually stemming from childhood, right? So first, in order to know what trauma is, I think we should maybe define it because growing up, I didn't know what trauma was personally, right? And shit, my fucking list of traumas were ridiculous. But
Yeah.
um, when I did find out what trauma was, I was like, holy shit,
Mm-hmm.
I have a lot of work to do because I thought, I've just been keeping on, and then I have this laundry list of stuff that just came into my realization. It had always been there, but I didn't know what it was.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
Julissa, take us perhaps through your definition of the definition of trauma.
Trauma. So I will say this first. Like people think that trauma is only the like really, really bad things that like you see on TV or you hear about. Let's say like rape, molestation, like those things. I think people just like boom, that's trauma. And ironically enough, even some people that have gone through that won't even admit that that's trauma because we don't like admitting that we've gone through pain or that we've gone through hurt, right? But then I'm also here to shed light on like minor traumas, right? Like microaggressions or what, like, and so like little instances of disrespect or repeated behaviors that have psychologically planted a seed in your brain to think differently of yourself, right? So it could be so many things. And another example too that people will often relate to, like 9/11, right? Hello, Kitty in the back.
Hi, Zelda. Zelda's in the middle of a semi haircut. She's looking hacked. So say hello.
But so to the 9/11 thing, right? So even individuals who were seeing it, many of us were over and over again on the television, they were even, some of them were even considered to be affected by it in some type of PTSD manner, right? Not even being there, but simply watching the news over and over and
Yes,
over.
looking up at airplanes every time. Like, is this one going down? I definitely was doing that for the next year, right?
Right. So even people that haven't, like, I remember going to DR, Dominican Republic, like years after, and my cousins asking me, like, "Oh my goodness, were you next to those twin towers?" And I was like, "I live nowhere near the city," but the concept is still there of like something major happened and it was really traumatic, right? So even something like that, point period blank, you don't have to experience a trauma all the time to be affected by family trauma. So
So, so folks, what I'm hearing Julissa say, if you're paying attention, is trauma is something that the brain sort of records and stores as uh, is experienced, right? For better or for worse. Usually we're associating this with things that are negative experiences, right? Trauma is usually associated with adverse childhood experiences, abuse, you know,
Mhm.
losing someone, right? Growing up with a parent or family member who has mental illness, that's a big one. A lot of folks see, you know, the external of a family system, see that folks are fed and clothed and don't know that they're going home to a parent who is not well upstairs. And so they're, you know, that manifests in different forms for different people. But trauma, what I learned was just adverse experiences that people go through. Uh, in typically, I always associate it with childhood. Trauma can happen at any point in your life, but for me, all of my traumas really occurred in childhood. So and for a lot of folks, I think both conscious and subconsciously, traumas are sort of recorded by the brain
Yes.
throughout childhood experiences. Because when you're a child, you're just absorbing reality, right? You're just learning about this life experience, and your brain is recording everything that's good for you and everything that's harmful to you. And
Yeah.
you have your fight or flight system, right? So I think the way it was explained to me was like, think of yourself in like the forest, and you see a bear, right? And you like your body is automatically sends all this cortisol and stress hormones to it through the blood, saying, attention, pay
Mhm.
attention,
Yeah.
fight or flight, right? Something dangerous is here. It could potentially hurt you.
Correct.
So your fight or flight system is activated, and that's a good thing, right? If you're in the forest with a bear, right?
Yeah.
That's sort of a survival thing,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So what happens with folks is when the brain doesn't know the difference between that bear in the forest and like, you
And
know,
my,
almost getting hit by a car or something like that. Like danger occurs, and the brain records it and
yeah.
stamps it and tries to avoid that in the future, right? And we cope with trauma.
Yeah.
But what was interesting, and Julissa, you know, I know you deal with people clients who have dealt with trauma and adverse experiences, especially now. I know you're doing this revolutionary act of self-love situation with people of color, and I can imagine the layers of trauma that folks are working through, right?
Yeah.
Um, but I saw a study that was done by Kaiser and the CDC that for me was like, it had me in tears personally, because I'm you know, I'm gonna skip over all the stuff that I went through, but the layers of the trauma that I went through as a kid, I had always thought I worked through and everything was gonna be fine, and now I'm in this great place and I can show people how to do it too, right? Which is true.
Yeah.
But the study was called the Adverse Childhood Experiences Study, or ACEs study, and what they found was that there was a direct correlation between the amounts of trauma people had and shortened life expectancy, adverse health in adulthood, right? So, and when they say ACEs, adverse childhood experiences, they defined it as physical, emotional, sexual abuse, or neglect,
Yeah.
having parents or family members that were mentally ill,
Yeah.
substance abusers, right? Domestic violence, right? These are all things that are common in the household.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So basically, there was a few things that were alarming to me. One of them was that they found that 67% of the population has at least one ACE, one adverse childhood experience,
Oh my
right?
God.
At least one, and I know we all have a lot more, but the ones we identify with, right?
Yeah.
And then 12% had four or more, and this is where I got alarmed, because what they found was people who had at least two ACEs, two adverse childhood experiences, were four times more likely to be depressed, have heart disease.
Yeah.
Seven or more ACEs equated to a higher risk of cancer, heart disease, high blood
Wow.
pressure,
Wow.
early death.
Yeah. Oh my God. So you're gonna bring me on a whole catalyst of like thinking. So like literally
Go!
this is why I created the program that I've already started, the Revolutionary Act of Self-Love for Black and Brown individuals, people of color. Honestly, anyone who's just not European American, not because I hate European Americans, but just statistically, statistically, right, Black individuals are faced with more adversities. Black individuals have a higher chance of having depression, anxiety, trauma, right, which only prolongs other health issues, not just mental health, but physical health, right? Because if we know things, we know that mind, body, and soul are interrelated, right? So, yeah, I mean, I haven't heard that study, but it makes complete sense. It makes complete
Yeah, definitely check it out. I was like, wow.
happening all the time. I think the American Psychological Association back in 20, I think that it was 2010. So this was a long time ago, already deemed, I wrote it in one of my captions. So if I'm misreading it, I will correct later. But I want to say by at least 20%, Black and brown individuals have higher chances for anxiety and depression. That was back in 2010. Right. So, I mean, come on now, right? Like this isn't, we're in this phase of being woke, right? Learning about so many unjust things that have been happening for years and years. And it's like, who gets the shit end of the stick time and time again? Black and brown people. That's not to say that white people don't have pain. Of course, white people have pain. Of course, they go through trauma. We're just looking at statistically numbers. There's a higher chance for a Black person to go through it simply because they are Black,
Yeah.
right? And that's what we keep looking at. So, yeah, this has a lot to do with our conversation today because, a lot of individuals, and I will say this for like anyone who doesn't, which is hard, who doesn't talk about the adversities that they face, there are so many of us listening to this right now, or whether you're catching the replay later, that are listening and may think doesn't relate. And I promise you, like, I don't want to seem like the Debbie Downer, but we all go through things. It's a part of life. We all go through trauma,
You don't
right?
understand. Nowadays, you could be scrolling through the wrong timeline and get traumatized. See
Yeah,
somebody, I
yeah.
mean, with the whole Black Lives Matter movement thing, I saw somebody get run over by a truck in the middle of trying to rob the truck, and they were decapitated. And I never see that. That's fucking traumatizing. Like, so.
Just too, like sometimes, like I even have some of my clients in my earlier days too, who would like hate, like they would say things like, well, does everything have to trace back to our childhood? Not everything has to trace back to your childhood, but we have to understand that we're like always evolving, getting older and older, and like we're collectively picking up what has happened in our lives from birth, right? It's the reason why babies who aren't held, right, have sometimes have attachment issues when they get older. Do you think we remember what it's like to be a child that's not held? But of course that's traumatic,
Of
right?
course.
Of
Yeah.
course affect us later. Well, so now we know now these things, right? It's just like, how could it be that something that I don't remember, which is a lot of us, that happened to us when we were 5, 10, 15, whatever, and we don't recognize it? Of course, yes, please comment, ask questions, go for
Yes.
interaction. Yes. So of course, those things are going to affect us even if we're not thinking about it. So trauma has this way of like creating a tattoo, a stamp of a memory, whether you want to remember it or not, it's there. It's there. So it's affecting your judgments, it's affecting your biases, it's affecting the way that you perceive the world, whether you like it or not.
Yes. And yes. And the stamp that it is the sensor, like I try to think of, like, metaphorically speaking, that sensory system that you have constantly, like checking, making sure things are good or safe, right, and
Yeah.
it's cool to approach. It's already in effect. It's already been developed before, like you said, before you became conscious about it, right? And so there's an automatic coping skill that is the way you operate your life that is either serving you or harming you. And for most people, unfortunately, nowadays, coping skills looks like alcohol, substance use, depression, right? Anxiety,
Avoid,
um,
avoid.
eating, avoidance, antisocial personality disorder. Ever wonder why you hate people so much? What happened, right?
Something happened, right?
What happened? You have to ask yourself that. And I mean, this is like, so, and I always tell folks, it took you a lifetime of becoming this person that you are. And so you have to acknowledge that you're not just going to go, "Ah, that's what happened and it's over. I'm
Yeah,
done. I'm
yeah.
healed."
Oh,
No,
yeah.
it takes practice.
Yeah, something that you said earlier that I wanted to bring to light again. You said that you were like still sometimes recognizing things. Me too, right? Like here we are, two individuals who are very well versed in psychology, who have been to school for certain things, right? Worked with so many people, and so we have, I would say, like a greater perspective to self-reflect because we're in this work all the time, right? But even with that knowledge, right? I'm 27. So to say that I'm not going to have things in my future, hello, like, you know what I'm saying? Or even that happened to me maybe yesterday, a year ago, that I have not been able to pick up yet because who is like really dissecting every part of your life at all times? We don't do that. That's why we go to
Yeah.
therapy, healing practices. That's why we do meditation so that we can try to tap into that and gain more knowledge. But to think that we can heal today and never have to touch us again, that's the greater issue, right? We are evolving human beings. We have to constantly be doing this inner work. So we want to give you the tools for that, right?
Yes, yes. And for the first thing begins with assessment, right? So if you're watching this video, good morning, Troy,
Mhm.
and you have a question or you have perhaps something you would like to share that's relevant to trauma, please
Yeah,
do, right? Let's process it. Let's talk about it. That's what Julissa and I are here for, to be
right,
present for you.
right.
And honestly, this is a discussion, right? So she and I are going back and forth, but we would love for you to interact. Let us know, like, what sort of traumas did you experience in your childhood or adulthood, right, or teenage years, that impact how you think now, how
Mhm.
you behave towards others, and how you treat yourself. Because I think
Yeah,
a lot of people are taught through, and this is like a learned behavior, right? That I'm going to mention as sort of a trauma. In our society, we are taught, hey, one love. Yes, this is good, Troy. Join.
Mhm.
Any childhood traumas, please throw them out there so we can process them.
Share
Oh,
your
he has a story.
story.
Perfect. Share your story. Type it away.
Yeah,
But learned behaviors like uh, just things that were taught to you about how to be can be traumatic, right? Like my family system, love my family to death, and I'm probably gonna get crucified for this later, but jacked up. I have aunts and uncles who have been drunk since before I was born, as far back as I can remember. And that's their coping skill. What happened? They lost family members when they were children, and they had poor guidance systems, and they had to figure out life, right? This is heavy. This is actual trauma here that we're talking about. So we have Troy just shared, and thank you for sharing, Troy. I was raped when I was 7,
oh,
and
I'm,
again, I'm sorry to hear that, and again 2 years ago.
I'm
Oh
so,
wow, I'm sorry that's repeated trauma, right? So,
Mhm.
uh, Julissa, do you want to touch this for a second?
Yeah, I can't see it yet. I don't know why. So he said he got raped a couple
When
years.
he was 7, and again 2 years ago, it
Okay,
made me feel a certain way about trust.
of
Okay,
course, of course,
absolutely.
right?
This
So
is
first and foremost, Troy, thank you so much for sharing. That was really, really brave of you to do that. And just understand that by you, even though like just typing it, like we've never met before, right? I don't know who you are other than just like screen, right? This is healing within itself. The airing out of just saying it out loud so that it's not stuck in here. That's one of the first steps to healing. So I thank you for doing that. And I want to commend your bravery for doing that. So what happened to you when you were 7, just I don't know how much you've processed or if you've gone to therapy or anything of that sort, but just know that you did nothing wrong, right? You didn't ask for this to happen. Someone older, it seems, took advantage of you. And what I often help my clients do, if you're feeling any kind of shame or guilt or resentment or feeling like you could have done something better to avoid this, like picture any little kid that you know, any 7-year-old. A 7-year-old is in second grade, right? Any second grader, right? Would you really think or expect them to do anything other than what happened and whatever that instant was for you, right? A second grader, a 7-year-old, they're looking for guidance, as all children are, right? So whatever happened to you, again, I am so sorry that that happened to you, that you had to experience that. But just know that, yeah, you were taken advantage of and you did nothing wrong. And at this point in the game, I hope that you were trying to heal, by understanding that whoever that person was, not to give an excuse, but they were obviously going through a really bad, hard time, right? And they didn't know what they were doing. Doesn't not give an excuse. I'm not excusing their behavior, but understand it had nothing to do with you.
Absolutely.
To do with you. Unfortunately, if this person has done that, it's likely that they've done it again or to others. And it was nothing personalized to you. You didn't do anything. You didn't move in any certain type of way that made them do that to you. And that's what I can give, with a very little context given.
Yeah, and I think you know, cycles, we were talking about this earlier, cycles. When people do things like this to other people, they're likely to either be mentally ill, right? Well, clearly, and or victim themselves, right? And so this may be a learned behavior.
Yeah.
We have at 41, I didn't realize my learned behaviors came from my mom's traumatic past.
Yeah.
It's kind of like a cancer. You never know where it stems from. And this is important. This is what I was talking about with learned traumas or like passed on traumas and cycles, right? When we come from a family system of alcoholics or substance or domestic violence, right? Or people who have antisocial personalities, right?
Right.
If we are born from children, Troy mentioned rape, right?
Yeah.
So like if, I've met people who are rape victims who've had children born of rape, and as a result they're unable to, they love their children dearly with all their heart, quote unquote, but unable to give physical affection to the child
Yes.
because it reminds them of the rape experience. So this
Yeah.
is trauma. So trauma says, that's my love, in your heart says, that's my baby, I love my baby, I want to hug my baby. Trauma says, don't touch the baby, don't do that, because this is going to remind you of that experience, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then what happens is this poor child is raised unbeknownst to them
Yeah.
out of a rape situation and treated as such, and grows up ultimately wondering why they never got that. Why did my mom never hug me? Why did I never get a kiss? Like it starts to become this question and this desire to know why, and then things start to manifest, like you have poor relationships with women,
Yeah.
uh, and you find yourself seeking out women when people are affectionate towards you, right? You find yourself repulsed
Yeah.
and not really into it, and then it sort of becomes confusing because you craved it and you wonder why you don't get it, but then you get it and you don't want it, you don't like it, and
Yeah.
it's just learned behavior, it's trauma, right?
And great thing. That is a great story because, and I'm going to read some of the comments afterwards. It's a great story because it just literally shows how a different trauma has transcended into something new, right? Mom was abused, sexualized, whatever. Therefore, she didn't want to touch her baby to protect her baby almost, or because she was going through her own pain, right? Not trying to do anything harmful, but the baby picks up that trauma in a different form, and therefore it's a catalyst to other behaviors, right?
Absolutely.
That's generational trauma. It doesn't have to be the same thing happening over and over again, but it's the maladaptive or negative ways of coping that affect the generations to come. So I'm going to read because Troy said, good, Troy. He said, I get that it's not my fault. I feel no shame about it. My story is to help others who are going through it alone. Thank you so much for sharing. Yes. Anthony said, and then end up seeking love somewhere, maybe elsewhere. That's Delroy, that's my husband. And then they end up seeking love elsewhere, maybe. Absolutely. I think he was talking about the mom situation that we were talking about earlier,
Yep.
right? Poutman, he says, and Troy, I would also recommend telling your story through creative expression. Yes, great way of healing. Great advice.
Release the energy. This is where the spiritual Eddie comes in. When
Yeah,
you have those things in you, those things that are stored in you that are negative, self-defeating, limiting, they feel low vibration, they bring you depressive, anxiety sort of feelings, then it is time for you to express those things for the purposes of releasing them so
right.
that you can have processed it and let it go. When you store those things, I bring that cup analogy. You have a limited amount of emotional storage, right? And the more you fill that baby up with things that don't serve you, the more you're in overload, and your body is processing this in every part of your existence, right? Socially, physically, mentally. So you have to do the work to acknowledge this. Something that we talked about earlier really quickly, I wanted to touch, that fight or flight system, right? Those stress hormones being released. For some people, repeated trauma is a reality, right? And going through layers of things sort of malfunctions that sensory system, and has trained it to go off for everything, right?
Yeah.
It's like there's a shortage now. It used to be activated because the bear, right? And then, or the car, right? Or that, that domestic violence situation I experienced, or that death of a loved one that I experienced, or the physical abuse I went through, or the rape situation, right? But after a while, imagine as a child, the accustomed, the defining the molding of who you are, how your body, your biochemistry operates, right, is
Yeah.
centered around constantly activating the survival switch. What happens is it no longer serves its true purpose for what it needs to be. It starts to just go off for everything. And you
Yes.
find yourself like stressed and anxious and getting into altercations with people, having tumultuous relationships
Correct.
with yourself, not liking the person you see in the mirror, with others, having relationships that don't serve you. Good morning, Delise. Hello, welcome. We're talking about trauma, folks. If you just join us, I don't think it ever leaves because we're 65% water, and water holds memory. And this is that spiritual stuff. Good statement, Jules. We are organic material, and our stuff is stored. Now, listen, it doesn't ever leave, but I'm going to say this. It can stay to serve a greater purpose, to
Yeah.
serve as an awareness to finding your true self and happiness from
Yeah.
within,
Yeah.
right?
Yes. Also, a point of clarification, because even for like anxiety, depression, trauma, whatever you're going through, people often come to my office and say, like, I don't want to feel blank anymore. My life will be better when I don't experience this anymore. Yes, of course, yes, right. But we have to understand that these thought patterns are sometimes very, very deeply rooted. So the real meaning of healing is having those thoughts pass and not affect us like they did once before.
Yeah.
Not eradicating, not getting rid of those thoughts, because they're part of our history. We don't want to forget, right? But like that Bible thing that you were saying right here, somebody commented, think of yourself as a Bible. You are walking
Walking story. Amen. Yes.
all those stories, right? Well, we want to be able to tell the stories without feeling so negatively attached to what happened, with guilt, with shame, with regret. Like, we need to heal, process, so that when we retell our stories to our family members, we're going to get into that, when we retell our stories to our family members with the hope of healing and not repeating patterns, we want to be able to do that from a healthy place. We want to be able to share our stories from a healthy place, from a healed place, so that we don't have to see it repeat over and over and over again within our family generations to come.
Yes, telling the story unapologetically. Absolutely, living your truth. A lot of times we feel isolated when these things happen to us just naturally. It's a human reaction to feel like I'm alone, no one understands me, everyone's going about their day, and my world is in shambles right now. And the reality is that your story can really impact and empower other people because they're feeling the same isolation that you once felt, except that you've identified that you are a part of a greater picture, a part of the hive consciousness, if you will, and that your altruistic challenge is not specific to you. It is really something that all of us go through at some point or another. And because you've been able to survive through it, it is sort of like your biblical challenge, like Pabon said, so to speak, to tell the story and empower others, enlighten others, enrich them with the spirituality of your life experience. You'll build new relationships. You'll help other people get through and feel like they're not alone. And you will have processed it. And Julissa, you said something that was important. 15 years ago, talking about personal trauma for me would have been like, and then, and
Yeah,
then,
yeah,
and now
yeah.
it's like sort of like a movie I talk about, right?
Yeah.
Because there's this like I experienced it and it happened, it's over, but it's not. I'm not so deeply entrenched in those experiences, and I think what happens is a lot of people don't process it. They don't do the work to become happy from within, and so they're just carrying this really heavy energy that they don't even know they're carrying, right?
How can we teach others when we haven't processed ourselves? And sometimes we need to process with family, whether it's with family, whether it's alone, whether it's with your therapist, whatever. You need to process. You need to process so that we can figure out, all right, what happened? Not what did I do wrong? What happened? What happened? And how can we make sure that this doesn't happen moving forward? Or how can we better our chances of things like this not happening moving forward? To think that we can save our children, our future generations from never experiencing any pain, that's inevitable. Pain is going to happen, right? But if we can at least guide them to knowing like, hey, our family has a history of doing blank, blank, blank. Just know that it's within you and know that this might be enticing for you to do at one point in your life. And let's please not go there, right? Or try your best to not go there, right? And you could save that person from doing that thing 20 times and maybe them only doing it one time. This is what was telling me about. This is what I have to not do. Okay, we still messed up and that's okay, but now we have the awareness to know let's not keep doing that over and over and over again.
Yes, and the whole like healing from within and acknowledging cycles is about exactly that. Not repeating the same mistakes over and over. You know, it's a mistake the first time, maybe the second time, but the third, once you become aware, you become responsible and you're now driving the car. So every time that car starts driving into a wall or hitting someone or hurting you, it is
Yeah.
because you are the one that's driving it, right? You have to change the whole navigation system, the whole approach to how you handle safety while driving your car that is your life, right?
Yeah. Once you become aware, you become responsible. I love that. I
You
love.
no longer, yeah, you shift from, well, you should shift because some people go, awareness, that doesn't serve me. I have to do work and I can't no longer be a victim. Yeah,
Healing,
right?
work. You gotta. I always tell my clients, I'm like, okay, cool. You ready to work? Okay, great. You got all the finances covered. Great. Are you ready to work? Are you ready
Yep,
to work? Because
yep.
if there's no, I'm not taking you. I'm not taking you, right? Because I want you to know this is going to be a transformative journey that we're gonna go on together. But you gotta work.
Yeah. Yep, and you have all the answers in you.
Yeah.
People like Julissa and I are tools to giving you the sort of help with the GPS system that you put in your own location to, right? This is where I want to get to. And we go, okay, here's the roadmap for happiness from within. Turn left, right? Drive 10 blocks forward. And we give you the roadmap, so to speak, metaphorically speaking. Some
Yeah.
folks have been saying stuff. I didn't know I was still carrying it. I think a lot of time people like you, Eddie, has been my therapy. Oh, thank you, Troy. I appreciate that. As friends have shared a lot with you and have been there to listen. Jules says, when the Europeans abused the slaves on the ships, some of them committed suicide by jumping overboard, and the Europeans, to eliminate suicide attempts, would feed a few slaves to the sharks. I think I had a discussion with my family the other day that we were discussing how people of African descent have phobias when it comes to mass bodies of water, and we connected it to the transatlantic slave trade. DNA trauma,
Yeah.
deeply rooted trauma that is passed along, characteristics and traits, something to be aware of, folks. So while you may think that I'll speak from personal experience, growing up without a dad, right? And that like blank Polaroid that I post every Father's Day, good times with my dad. Um, I, what you would call it? I've learned. Wait a minute. So I learned that, I felt that how to live on my own. I learned how to experience life on my own, and I thought that I was my own person, right? But then when I met my dad, and I actually had some interactions with him, bless his soul, I learned that DNA is real, and the blood system is real. And that man, I have so many of his characteristics. I was like, holy shit, I never was raised around him. How could I be not only his spitting image, because I have that, right, that he passed to me, but how come he plays with his partner the way I play with my partner? Oh my God. Like,
And you
what?
weren't environment to pick that up, right? And it's
Right.
that's straight DNA. That is straight DNA. Mm-hmm.
Yes. So yes, I you know, that was really deep, Jules, by the way. Some people are not that deep yet. Jules is a very spiritual person. I know him personally. He's getting into bodies of water and how it affects us, but it is relative. So I'll shift that into how we speak about ourselves. One of the coping ways is to change how we talk about the situation, right? Shifting from the victim to the master of the circumstance, so to speak, right? You've already lived these traumas. You already know what happened. And now you know exactly, create a paradigm shift, the Lee says. It's exactly what I'm trying to say here. Once you know that, you can shift how you talk about it, how you react to it, how you process it, right? You can go from and then to, you know, I did experience those things, and this is what happened, and
Yeah.
here I am,
Yeah.
right?
You know,
And
go ahead.
go ahead. No, no,
No, no,
go.
I was
If
just
it's interfering with my happy,
go ahead. No, you
no,
read.
you go first. You go, you.
Okay. Okay, so when Eddie's talking, I picture like, like us going from the like crying phase of like, oh my God, this terrible thing happened to me, to being this enlightened individual who's now like a step a little bit higher in this healing journey, who's almost able to look at our past selves and like put a healing hand on their back, right? It's less of like, because when we're crying, we're still going through it as if it just happened, because we're like emotionally still in the trenches, right? So we haven't gained the acknowledgement yet of like, this is a past experience. This is no longer happening to me, but because I've never processed, I'm crying as if it just happened to me,
Mm.
right? And when we can be enlightened on this spiritual journey, on this healing journey, right? I literally picture us getting like one step higher and being able to like touch our past selves and like pat ourselves in the back and saying, it's okay, you
As
know,
we would a friend or a
as
family member.
as we would a friend, like it's okay, like I'm sorry that you had to go through this, giving compassion to ourselves, because a lot of us tend to just be rough and tough and trying to be like, it's okay, it happened in the past, it is what it is, I'm over it. Like, no you're not, no you're not,
You
right?
know,
So you're not. So just like once we're able to, the way that even when Eddie was saying, when you said, bless his heart, words, even simple words like that, I can see like Eddie's healed, or Eddie is healing, right? Because he's able to have compassion for someone who has caused pain to him. And the reason why I coined my masterclass, the revolutionary act of self-love. To love ourselves means that we love our parents. We love those that hurt us. If we believe that we are all part of this greater collective, everyone is us and we are everyone, right? So if we can love ourselves, we can love the people that hurt us. And when we're able to do that, then we can heal, right? Because we're admitting that, like, oh, I don't like the way that my mom and dad did this before. Oh, crap. I am my mother and my father. So if I don't like them, I don't like me. That's the greater issue, right? We want to love ourselves so we can love also where we came from, have
yes.
compassion for generational trauma, right? And be like, okay, I own it now. I'm better now, or I'm getting better now. And now I can make sure that my offspring or future people to come won't have this same intensity of trauma to come.
Right, exactly. And towards the end of this video, Julissa and I will talk about sort of like the holistic approach to how to find happiness from within. She and I are working on a program that we're bringing to you that is exclusive, and we're excited about it.
Yeah.
But it says here, it's interfering with my happiness, and I'm definitely trying to be, and I know it doesn't take much to be happy. I never had anyone to care about my feelings and really talk to everyone. Always came to me. I can do that. So it sounds like you're here in the works, one love, and trying to be happy is really a mind. You shift the consciousness. Choose to be happy, right? Let go of those feelings of negativity and forgive the people that hurt you. Forgive yourself for whatever you think you shoulda, woulda, coulda, right? Because a lot of people are stuck with I shoulda, I woulda, I coulda, and they're stuck, right? But that's holding on to negative energy. Loving yourself, like Julissa was saying, loving your parents and loving people, to be able to forgive them and to shift from anger to love changes the feelings that arise when you think of these people. Let go and let love. You know what I mean? You know that whole saying, let go and let God?
Yeah.
Well, for those of you who aren't religious or spiritual, let go and let love,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Because when you let go of things, remember that whole, I think I said this in Happiness from Within Part 1, that whole analogy of being mad at someone and drinking poison and expecting them to die, right? When you're upset with someone, you're gonna feel that poison of anger, of frustration, of vengeance, of wanting to make them feel what you're feeling. And in all actuality, that person is somewhere else hanging out, doing their thing, like in a whole other mindset, and you're sitting there festering in negativity. Let it
Right.
go, let love, trust in karma. And what
Right.
people do, like Troy, unfortunately, who was a victim, he mentioned earlier, trust in the karmic process. Trust that whomever is harming others the way they harmed you is going to either face their demons or face the consequences of their actions. At some point or another, the universe will bring everything right back around, just like the cycle of whatever you went through as a child manifesting all the way in your adulthood, and you're
Oh,
wondering why you're having these feelings, thoughts, reactions for no reason, right?
absolutely. Yeah. 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 People are getting so into it. I'm loving it. I'm
Yes.
loving.
Don't let anyone rent space in your heart. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yes. Not repeating generational trauma. This is important. Generational trauma. One of the things that Julissa and I are bringing to you in our little mindset program for happiness within Mind Reset is the genogram system, right? This is a powerful tool, like to be able to do individualized genograms where we can help you to go into your past, go into your family system and dig up all of the stuff that you may or may not even be aware of,
Yep.
right? And sometimes there's so much stuff, right?
Mhm.
That you didn't even count it. You thought that this was the problem, but then oh wait, this genogram is showing you, holy shit, there's a whole other list of manifesting problems that you haven't even become aware of yet.
Yep.
Right? And remember what I said earlier and what Julissa said, when you become aware, you become responsible at that point. You shift from things happening to you you creating your reality at that point, right?
Yeah. 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 Right. So me and Eddie, right, like we've come together for every other Friday at this point. This is our fourth session coming together. And I mean, it's been beautiful. Like me and Eddie just from our own personal take, like we just vibe really, really well together. I genuinely believe that like Eddie was put in my path once again. He reached out to me the second time, right? We met earlier years, we were brought back together
Yep.
because in the game, like we're put here to serve others, right, to help others heal as we heal ourselves too from our trauma and our upbringing. So if you've liked what we've been doing, we are creating something so special. Is it okay if we go into that, Eddie? Is that
Oh
cool?
yes, go ahead, yes. Talk about it.
Yeah, we're so special, right? Healing from within, right? I want us to know that, or I want you guys to know that this is like I said before, an everlasting thing that we have to continuously work on, right? More awareness brings more healing, right? So we want to give you all the tools, tips, and tricks. So we're working really, really hard behind the scenes to bring this amazing program to you guys, right? And it's going to be a master class. It's going to be like trauma informed things, healing from within, so that you guys can take all the concepts that we teach you and really, really push forward. Like I'm talking like, yes, it's going to be over Zoom. We're going to have workshops within the Zoom. We're going to have worksheets, PDF things, like all these things for you guys to take away with forever, so that you can walk away and saying like, wow, I learned so much and I am really healing from my past, right?
Absolutely.
If do you want to add anything, Eddie?
Yeah, definitely. I think all of that and just really understanding that if we are looking for individuals who are really ready to do the work necessary to have a lot of aha moments, a lot of insights to self, and to shift the paradigm from life happening to you creating and manifesting the life that you want and dream of. We have an interdisciplinary approach that is holistic. It is unique, right?
Yeah.
It is sort of science meets spirituality blended with experience. Eddie and
Yeah.
Julissa turned into happiness from within.
Yeah.
And you know, with that, we'll be exploring, you know, your physical health, your mental health, areas of your life like your interpersonal relationships,
Yeah.
family systems theory, and your whole
Yeah.
like genogram system, right?
Yeah.
Obviously, you know, I always like to say people, from my experience, when people step into my office, so to speak, right? When I meet people who are coming to me for trying to heal, they usually have one presenting problem, the thing that they think is the actual problem, but there's always underlying stuff and other things that are going on in areas that they may or may not be aware of. So this program, you know, the program that Julissa and I are working on is really tailored to have you dig into every one of your life areas: physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, interpersonal, right? And then dissect what it is that you have specific to you going on that we could all collaborate on
Yeah.
to develop a plan specific to you so
Mhm.
that you can utilize the program to come out all the way ready to live your best life.
Yeah.
Happy.
Yeah.
Happy from within, baby. I wake
Yeah.
up every day happy no matter what the circumstances are. We're in the middle of a pandemic and I'm sitting here twerking, pop locking, dropping, having a good old time celebrating life
Just
because
yeah.
it's a mindset.
Yeah, it's a completely a mindset, right? And so here we go again, blending the science with the spirituality, right? Like here in the online space, I'm a mindset coach. I'm all things mindset. So I'm gonna be bringing all that fire, right? Eddie is all
Yes.
meditation, mindfulness, just like he's also
Yes.
science based. You know, we both have the science and spirituality. We balance each other out. But I'm like we're a fire ass team, guys, and I'm not just I don't feel bad saying that. We're a fire ass fucking team. So
Yeah,
let's
no, yeah, we're ready to drop all the way gems on that ass.
So special announcement for today for being on this call, right? So actually anyone who listens, before we officially go into launch mode, which will probably be sometime in September, right? Which is literally around the corner. How crazy is that, right? But before we officially do that, if you guys want join the wait list. We are going to cap it after a certain amount of individuals, and the individuals on the wait list will receive a 15% discount. Right. So if you want to be in this program, if you're like, damn, Julissa and Eddie, their vibes are mad cool. Like, I know they're going to help me heal. Like, come through, come join our program, and join the wait list, right? You will get all the tips before, early on. You'll get all the welcome introductory emails just to get you settled and started. And we will give you 15% off, right?
Yes, 15% off, and the first 10 individuals to sign up before the program qualify for a one-on-one coaching session with
Yeah.
Julissa and I, which is two coaches in one,
Yeah.
all the way personalized for you, one-on-one, to really dig even deeper with you.
Yeah.
We want to help you to heal. You know, we did these last 4 happiness from within discussions. Julissa and I were like, you know, we were very busy and we get paid very well to do the things that we do, right? But we wanted to come on live and give you sort of a little snippet, a sample of what this is, and give like value for free, because for some folks, you know, you don't even have access to these things. I didn't know what a mindset coach was. I didn't know what healing from within was. I didn't know what a holistic approach was until I became woke, until I became aware, right? And then, Julissa, you should collaborate with Del Caro. Absolutely. Delise is a beautiful soul. I've collaborated with her in the past. She's doing some great domestic violence work. Delise, I'm not sure if you were tuned into the video earlier where we were talking about adverse childhood experiences and how domestic violence is one of those things that is traumatic, right? And it affects how we're raised and how we think, how we operate. So she has an organization called Del Caro that does domestic violence trainings and awareness, and absolutely there's work to be done there.
Okay.
But yeah.
Okay. Delise, if you have a connection to that woman, put us in a group chat together. That's the best way to collab. Since you think that I would be a good fit, if you don't mind, right? Put just after this, just DM both of us. Be like, hey, this is blank, 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 so that I can get to know her, and I'm not coming at her from like left field. Like, hey, girl, I don't know who you are, but we should work together. So I appreciate the put on, but yeah.
One love. Yeah, Delise, definitely watch the beginning of this video. If you're just tuning in, we're talking about happiness from within. Today's topic was trauma. It's the last discussion of four discussions that Julissa and I have had here on these lives for the past 2 months, bi-weekly on Fridays. We're talking about a new holistic approach, happiness from within, healing from within program, mindset reset, that Julissa and I are working on.
Yeah.
Someone here said, and this is very sweet of you, I'm getting emotional. This has to be what I need. I'm telling you, everything happens for a reason or a season, right? I
Mm-hmm.
always say, people come into each other's life for whatever purpose. We are here now. If you're watching this video, then it's obviously some sort of a gem that you should be taking from this. If you know someone who has experienced adverse childhood experiences, trauma, who is needing some healing from within, who is lacking that happiness factor, who is ready to do the work, definitely let them know to get in touch with Julissa or myself about the Mind Reset program that we're working on. We are releasing it in September, like Julissa said, and we're going to bring you all sorts of the good. These are
Yeah.
lifetime of experiences from a positivity expert, mental wellness expert, coach, mindset reset coach, to trauma expert, healing expert, self-help expert, so to speak.
Yeah.
And we are going to hopefully change some lives I know we're going to change lives because we do it already. But if you want in on this and you want to change your life, definitely get in touch.
Yeah. All right, guys. So if you have any questions, definitely DM us. I think we're probably going to wrap it up here if there's no other comments, right? And we have been so, so happy to serve you in this space. Yeah, Delise, definitely go ahead and do that. You too. Have a great, great day. Have a blessed day.
Have a
And
blessed day, Delise.
we thank you guys for being a part of the conversation. Hit us up, DM us if you want to be a part of that 15% off discount group, right? You can just type in live or healing from within, which is going to be our title, right? So go ahead and do that, and me and Eddie will hook you up, and we'll see you guys soon. Okay?
See you soon. Awesome. One love. Definitely get in touch with Julissa or myself, and we will talk. Love y'all. I want you to know we have like a good maybe 3 or 4 minutes. So I want to, before I say what I'm going to say, I'm a precipice with, if you have something that's unresolved and you have just a couple minutes left, the burning desire to type in a comment, ask a question, share an experience, please do so.
Yeah.
If this video could be valuable to someone you love, please share it with them.
Yeah.
And I always say thank you, Pabon. I appreciate it. Thank you for participating. You rock. I always say know that you have limitless light, love, and potentiality. You are your own greatest strength, and your challenges are those muscles that are keeping you going and make you stronger. So chase your dreams, trust the process, love yourself, and know that everything happens for a reason to serve you. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Give yourself some love. Look in the mirror. Say, I love you. I got this. I am light. I am love. I am overcoming, and I need to get in that mind reset program that Julissa and Eddie are working on because I am ready to do the work to change my life. Take care, y'all. Julissa, I love you for doing these discussions with me. Thank you so much for joining your energy with mine and exchanging it in this format on this platform. You're a very busy woman, and I know you're in the middle of like all these other coaching programs you're doing right now, and then you're dealing with the BLM situation, which is really deep. You took that on. I'm proud of you because for me, I'm like, you know what? I'm going to continue to flow how I flow, and I have love for everyone. I love my black and brown people. I support y'all. I'm here for y'all. If you haven't already gotten in touch with Julissa about her revolutionary act of self-love, do so.
Yeah, that one started, but my mind reset is starting August 10th. So I just got programs.
She's got programs on programs on programs, right? So you can reprogram.
Depending on what you need. But if you want this kind of conversation, this trauma-informed conversation, that's definitely where you want to be at with me and Eddie. If this was helpful to you, hit us up. Like I said, DM us, let us know that you want in, and we will give you that 15% discount before we officially launch sometime.
And remember, the first 10 get that one-on-one session coaching with Julissa and I. All right? Love y'all. Take care. Happy Friday. Turn up. Smile. Love more. Peace.
Bye. Love you. Bye.